My husband fell in love with a gamer girl, and now he wants an open relationship. Hey Reddit, I'm Jessica, and I'm 32 years old. I never thought I'd be airing out my personal life on the internet, but I'm feeling lost and don't know where else to turn. My husband, Matt, who's 35, fell in love with an online gamer girl, 8 years younger than him, and it completely blindsided me. I forgave him once, thinking we could get past it, but now he's asking for an open relationship, and I don't know what to do. I feel trapped between the life we've built and the fear that I'm losing him to someone who isn't even in the same room. This is the story of how I found out, how I tried to save our marriage, and the impossible decision I'm facing now. Matt and I met in college when we were both 21. We were the typical campus love story, met at a mutual friends party, hit it off immediately, and became inseparable. Matt was funny, kind, and incredibly smart. He had this laid-back charm that made everyone want to be around him. He was a computer science major, and I was studying marketing. Our interests were different, but we clicked instantly. He was my first serious relationship, my best friend, and eventually, my husband. We got married when we were 26, in a small ceremony with close friends and family. Our first few years of marriage were blissful. We moved into a cozy apartment in the city, adopted a rescue dog named Max, and spent our weekends exploring new restaurants and binging Netflix shows. We were happy, and I felt like I'd hit the jackpot. Matt and I shared the same sense of humor, the same love for gaming, and the same dreams of traveling the world. We had this unspoken understanding, like we were a team facing the world together. We both worked full-time, Matt as a software developer and me as a marketing manager, and we were comfortable, financially stable, and living the kind of life we'd always dreamed of. Gaming was one of Matt's biggest hobbies, and I never had an issue with it. He'd play after work to unwind, chatting with friends online and diving into whatever new game was trending. Sometimes we'd play together, teaming up in cooperative games or just hanging out in virtual worlds. It was a fun way to connect, and I loved that it was something we could share. I'd always trusted him completely, after all, we'd spent years building that trust. But things started to change about a year ago, and it was so subtle at first that I didn't even notice. Matt had gotten into a new game, a popular online multiplayer that everyone was talking about, and he was spending more and more time on it. At first, I was happy that he'd found something he enjoyed, but then it started consuming all his free time. He'd stay up late playing, long after I'd gone to bed, and his excitement about the game was all he ever talked about. I tried not to read too much into it. After all, it was just a game, and Matt had always been passionate about his hobbies. But then I started noticing other changes. He was glued to his phone, constantly messaging someone, and his gaming sessions stretched into the early hours of the morning. Our evenings together became less frequent, replaced by the glow of his computer screen and the sound of his voice chatting with people I didn't know. I'd ask him what was so exciting, and he'd brush it off, saying it was just some new friends he'd met in the game. He'd laugh it off, telling me not to worry, and I'd feel a knot in my stomach because something didn't feel right. I trusted Matt, but this was different. He was distant, distracted, and it felt like he was always somewhere else, even when he was sitting right next to me. One night, I decided to stay up with him, hoping to reconnect over a shared gaming session like we used to. I sat beside him on the couch, watching as he played. He was laughing, smiling more than I'd seen in weeks, and chatting animatedly with his teammates. That's when I heard her voice for the first time, a light, cheerful laugh coming through his headset. Her name was Ashley, and it was obvious from the way they talked that they were close. Too close. They had inside jokes, a shared language, and a comfort level that felt off. I tried to join in, but it was like I was intruding on something I wasn't meant to be a part of. Matt barely acknowledged me, his focus entirely on the game and on Ashley. After an hour of feeling like the third wheel in my own living room, I excused myself and went to bed, trying to shake off the unease. But the more I thought about it, the more it gnawed at me. I couldn't help but wonder who Ashley was, how long they'd been talking, and why Matt seemed so much happier around her than he did with me. The next day, I asked Matt about her, trying to sound casual. "So, who's Ashley? You guys seemed pretty tight last night." He shrugged, not even looking up from his phone. "Oh, she's just a friend from the game. She's cool. We play together a lot." I nodded, trying to act unfazed, but something about his dismissiveness bothered me. He'd never been secretive before, but now it felt like there was this whole side of him that I didn't know. I wanted to trust him, to believe that it was just harmless fun, but deep down, I knew it was more than that. As the weeks went by, Matt's behavior became harder to ignore. He'd come home from work, greet me with a quick peck on the cheek, and then disappear into his gaming setup. I'd hear him laughing with Ashley, their voices echoing through the apartment, and I'd feel a pang of jealousy that I couldn't quite shake. I missed him, missed us, and it felt like I was losing him to someone I'd never even met. One night, unable to sleep, I went to the living room and found Matt still playing, his face illuminated by the screen. I watched him for a moment, noticing the way his eyes lit up every time Ashley spoke. I couldn't stand it anymore. I needed to know what was going on, so I confronted him. "Matt, what's going on with you and Ashley?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He paused the game, looking genuinely surprised. "What do you mean?" "We're just friends, Jess." "Friends?" I repeated, feeling my frustration bubble over. "You spend more time talking to her than you do with me. I barely see you anymore because you're always on that game, and it's always with her." Matt sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was bothering you. It's just, she's fun to talk to. We get along, and it's a nice escape, you know? It's nothing serious." But I could see it in his eyes, this wasn't just about the game. I tried to tell myself that I was overreacting, that Matt would never cross that line, but the distance between us only grew. He was still physically here, but his mind, his emotions, were somewhere else. I felt helpless, trapped in a marriage where I was no longer his priority. A month later, everything came crashing down. Matt and I were having a rare night out, sitting at a small restaurant, trying to reconnect. It was supposed to be a fun date night, a chance to forget about everything else and focus on us. But Matt was distant, his eyes flicking to his phone every few minutes, as if waiting for a message. Finally, after what felt like an eternity of awkward silence, he put his phone down and looked at me, his expression unreadable. "Jess, there's something I need to tell you." My heart sank. I knew that tone, the kind that meant something bad was coming. I braced myself, gripping the edge of the table. "What is it?" He took a deep breath, his gaze dropping to his hands. "I've been talking to Ashley a lot, and I think I have feelings for her." The words hit me like a punch to the gut. I felt like the floor had been ripped out from under me. I stared at him, unable to process what he was saying. "You're in love with her?" He shook his head quickly. "It's not like that, I swear. I mean, I care about her, but I never meant for it to get this far. It just happened. I never wanted to hurt you." Tears welled up in my eyes, and I fought to keep my voice steady. "Matt, do you even hear yourself? You're married to me. We've built a life together, and you're telling me you have feelings for some girl you've never even met in person?" He reached across the table, trying to take my hand, but I pulled away. "Jess, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to replace you. It's just, she makes me feel alive in a way that I haven't felt in a long time. It's exciting and new, and I know it's wrong, but I don't know how to stop." I wanted to scream, to throw my drink in his face and storm out, but all I could do was sit there, numb and heartbroken. I couldn't believe this was happening. This wasn't the Matt I knew, the man I'd fallen in love with. He was my best friend, my partner, and now he was telling me that he'd let someone else into his heart. We spent the rest of the night talking, crying, and trying to figure out where to go from here. Matt promised that he'd cut things off with Ashley, that he'd focus on our marriage and make things right. He said all the things I wanted to hear, and I so desperately wanted to believe him. I wanted to believe that we could fix this, that we could go back to the way things were before Ashley came into our lives. So I forgave him. I told him that I was willing to work through it, to give him a second chance. We agreed to set boundaries, to prioritize our relationship, and to rebuild the trust that had been broken. For a while, things seemed better. Matt deleted Ashley's contact, spent more time with me, and made an effort to reconnect. We went on dates, cooked dinner together, and even started gaming as a team again. But deep down, I knew things would never be the same. I'd catch him glancing at his phone when he thought I wasn't looking, or I'd notice the way his smile didn't quite reach his eyes. It felt like there was this invisible wall between us, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't break through. Months went by, and although we were trying, the cracks in our relationship were impossible to ignore. Matt was more present, but there was a tension between us that we couldn't shake. Every time we'd argue about something small, I'd find myself wondering if he was thinking about Ashley, if he missed her, if he was regretting his decision to stay with me. Then one night, Matt came home from work, looking nervous and agitated. He paced around the living room, fidgeting with his wedding ring, and I could tell something was weighing on him. I watched him, my stomach churning with dread, because I'd seen that look before. "Jess, there's something I've been thinking about," he said, finally sitting down across from me. I braced myself, trying to keep my voice steady. "What is it?" He took a deep breath, his eyes pleading with mine. "I know we've been working on things, and I appreciate everything you've done to forgive me. But I've been struggling. I still care about Ashley, and I think about her a lot. I miss that excitement, and it's been really hard to just let it go." My heart sank. I'd hoped that with time, he'd move past this, that we could get back to being us, but it was clear that Ashley still had a hold on him. "Matt, we talked about this. You promised me you'd cut things off." "I know," he said quickly. "And I did, but it's more complicated than that. I don't want to hurt you, but I can't just turn my feelings off. I've been doing a lot of research, and I think we should consider an open relationship." I stared at him, stunned. "An open relationship? You're serious?" He nodded, his eyes desperate. "I think it could work. It would give us both the freedom to explore other connections without losing what we have. I love you, Jess. You're my wife, and I don't want to lose you. But I also can't pretend that I don't have these feelings. I think this could be a way for us to have the best of both worlds." I couldn't believe what I was hearing. This wasn't the solution I'd been hoping for. It felt like Matt was trying to have his cake and eat it too, like he wanted to keep me in his life while still pursuing whatever thrill he found with Ashley. I felt sick to my stomach, a mix of anger, betrayal, and heartbreak swirling inside me. "What about me?" I asked, my voice shaking. "What if I'm not okay with this? What if I don't want to share my husband with someone else?" Matt looked pained, but he didn't back down. I want us to be happy. I want to explore this without feeling guilty, and I want you to have that freedom too. I know it's a lot to ask, but please, just think about it." I didn't know what to say. I felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me, like everything I thought I knew about my marriage was falling apart. I'd forgiven Matt once, hoping we could rebuild, but now he was asking for something I couldn't give. I wanted to scream, to cry, to make him see how much he was hurting me, but all I could do was nod numbly, feeling the weight of his proposal pressing down on me. Over the next few days, I felt like I was living in a fog. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, and every time I looked at Matt, I felt a mix of love and resentment that I couldn't untangle. He was still my husband, still the man I'd built a life with, but now he was also the man who was asking me to share him with someone else. I started researching open relationships, trying to understand the dynamics and whether it could really work for us. I read forums, listened to podcasts, and even reached out to a therapist who specialized in non-traditional relationships. But the more I learned, the more confused I felt. I wasn't against the idea on principle, but the thought of Matt being with Ashley, or anyone else, made my stomach turn. I tried to picture myself in an open relationship, dating other people, exploring new connections, but it didn't feel right. I didn't want to be with anyone else. I wanted my husband back. I wanted the man who'd made me laugh, who'd held me on our wedding day and promised me forever. I wanted to feel secure in our marriage, not constantly wondering if I was enough. I sat down with Matt one evening, hoping we could have an honest conversation about what we both wanted. "Matt, I've been thinking about what you said, and I'm trying to understand. But I don't know if I can do this." He looked at me, his expression torn. "Jess, I know it's a lot to ask. But I don't want to lose you. I just think this could be a way for us to both get what we need. What do you need that I can't give you? I asked, my voice breaking. Isn't our marriage enough? He hesitated, and I could see the conflict in his eyes. It's not about you not being enough. It's about wanting something different. Something new. But I don't want to lose you, Jess. I love you, and I want to make this work. I wanted to believe him, but I didn't know if I could handle being second to someone else. The idea of Matt being intimate with another woman, of sharing moments with her that should have been ours, was more than I could bear. I felt like I was being asked to tear down everything I'd built, to sacrifice my own happiness for the sake of his. I'm still here, trying to figure out what to do. I love Matt, and I don't want to lose him, but I also don't want to lose myself. I feel trapped between my loyalty to him and my own self-respect, and I don't know which way to turn. Reddit update, struggling with my husband's proposal. Opie, my husband fell in love with an online gamer girl and now wants an open relationship. I don't know what to do. Hey everyone, I'm struggling right now and could really use some advice. My husband Matt fell in love with an online gamer girl named Ashley, who's 8 years younger than him. I found out a few months ago, and it nearly destroyed me, but I decided to forgive him because I believed we could work through it. Now, Matt is asking for an open relationship because he still has feelings for Ashley and misses the excitement. I love him, but I don't know if I can handle sharing him with someone else. I feel like I'm losing him all over again, and I'm terrified of making the wrong choice. Has anyone been through something similar? How do you decide when to fight for your marriage and when to let go? Top comment. I'm so sorry you're going through this, OP. It sounds like Matt is trying to have his cake and eat it too. You've already forgiven him once, and now he's asking you to sacrifice even more. It's okay to say no. It's okay to put yourself first. You deserve to be with someone who sees you as enough. Take some time to figure out what you really want, and don't let him pressure you into something that makes you unhappy. OP's response. Thank you for your kind words. It's been really hard, and I'm still trying to sort through my feelings. I don't want to lose Matt, but I also don't want to lose myself in the process. I know I have to make a decision soon, but I just don't know if I'm strong enough to walk away. Your support means a lot. It helps to know that I'm not alone in this.